the Sleepweaver stories by Elsewhere and Beyond. A series of short tales and ambience to help you find a night of blissful and restful sleep. If you enjoy listening to our show, then consider finding us on Patreon, where you can find all of the ambience and music that you hear today and help support us for the price of a cup of coffee. Now then, let's settle in, take a deep breath, and let's begin. Briar Rose, or Sleeping Beauty, by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there lived a king and a queen who had everything they could ever wish for: wealth, fine clothes, feasts, and a grand carriage in which to ride. But one thing was missing. They had no child, and this filled their hearts with great sorrow. One day, as the queen walked beside the river at the edge of their long garden, she saw a small fish gasping for air, stranded on the bank. She gently picked it up and placed it back into the water. The fish paused, lifted its head above the surface and said, "I know what your heart desires, and for your kindness, your wish shall be granted. You will soon have a daughter." And so it happened. A baby girl was born, so beautiful that the king could not stop gazing at her with pride and joy. In celebration, he declared a great feast, inviting all the nobles, kinsmen, friends of the realm. The queen insisted that the fairies of the kingdom be invited too, hoping they would bless the child. There were 13 fairies in the land, but the royal household had only 12 golden plates. So, one fairy was left uninvited. At the feast, the 12 fairies arrived, each wearing a tall red cap, red shoes with high heels, and carrying a long white wand. They each offered the princess a gift: beauty, grace, kindness, wisdom, and all the blessings they could bestow. But just as the 11th fairy had given her gift, a great commotion sounded in the courtyard. The 13th fairy arrived, dressed in black, holding a broomstick. Furious at being left out, she stormed into the hall, scolded the king and queen, and declared, "On her 15th birthday, the princess shall prick her finger on a spindle and fall down dead." A hush fell over the room at her final word. But the 12th fairy, who had not yet spoken, stepped forward. She could not undo the curse entirely, but she could soften it. "She will not die," said this 12th fairy, "but fall into a deep sleep for 100 years. In the days that followed, hoping to avoid the curse altogether, the king ordered all spindles in the kingdom to be destroyed. Still, the blessings of the fairies held true. The princess grew up wise, kind, and clever, and so lovely that all who met her adored her. On the very day she turned 15, the king and queen were away. and the princess wandered through the palace on her own. She climbed a narrow staircase in a long forgotten tower, and there found a little room with an old woman inside, spinning wool on a spindle. "What are you doing?" the princess asked. "Spinning," the old woman replied, nodding and saying nothing more. "It looks fascinating," said the princess. She reached for the spindle, and the moment she touched it, she pricked her finger and fell to the ground. But she was not dead. The 12th fairy's softened curse took hold, and the princess fell into a deep sleep. As did everyone in the palace. The king and queen when they returned, the courtiers, the animals in the stables, the flies on the walls, the very fire in the hearth. Even the cook, who was about to scold the kitchen boy, froze in mid-action. A great hedge of thorns grew around the castle, taller and thicker with each year that passed, until the palace vanished from sight. Stories spread throughout the kingdom of a sleeping princess called Briar Rose, hidden beneath the thorns. Many princes came and tried to break through. Many more years passed, until at last a young man came to the land. An old man told him the tale of Briar Rose and the lost princes before. "Still," said this man, "I will find her." Though warned, he was determined. It so happened that this was the very day the 100 years ended. And as this young adventurer approached, the thorny hedge parted before him, letting him pass as easily as if it was silk. Behind him, though, the hedge closed again. He reached the palace and found everything as still as stone. Dogs lay asleep, pigeons dozed off on the roof. Servants had even frozen in the middle of their chores and tasks. The young hero walked through silent halls, climbed the winding stairs, and found the room where Briar Rose slept, glowing with an everlasting beauty. He could not look away. Gently, he bent down and laid a hand against hers. And in this instant, in this moment where their skin touched, she opened her eyes and smiled. All around the palace, life began to stir. The king and queen awoke, the dogs began barking, pigeons fluttered past the window. The fire in the hearth leapt to life, and the cook even finished her scolding as a butler took a long-awaited sip of ale. The young adventurer promised Briar Rose one thing for sure, that after all these long years of sleeping, should she seek adventure, it could be promised by his side. And so, unconventional for such a princess, her father had a sword made for her. It is said the two went on many adventures and became heroes of legend themselves. Briar Rose and her folklore hero, a pair of daring dragon slayers and adventurers of the land. The Travelling Musicians by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, there lived a hard-working farmer who owned an old donkey. The donkey had served him faithfully for many years, but now he was growing weak. He could no longer carry heavy loads or pull the cart as he once had. The farmer, unsure of what to do with a donkey who could no longer work, sadly began to wonder if it was time to say goodbye. But the donkey, sensing what was about to happen, slipped away quietly at dawn and set off down the road. "I'll go to the city," he thought. "Perhaps I can become a musician." He came upon a dog lying by the roadside, panting and weary. "What's the matter, friend?" asked the donkey. "Ah," said the dog, "I'm too old to hunt, and my master has threatened to kill me. I ran away, but now I don't know what to do." "Well," said the donkey, "I'm going to the city to try my luck as a musician. You should come with me. We'll form a band together." The dog wagged his tail and agreed, and off the two went. Further along, they met a cat sitting alone in the road, looking terribly downcast. "Why so gloomy, miss?" the donkey asked. "Oh," the cat sighed, "I used to be useful for catching mice. But now I'd rather nap by the fire. My mistress tried to shoo me away. What am I going to do now?" "Come with us," said the donkey. "We're starting a music group. Your nighttime serenades, I am sure, are quite legendary." The cat perked up, and she joined the two, and they trotted down the road. Soon they came to a farmyard, where a rooster was perched on a gate, crowing at the top of his lungs. "What's all this noise?" asked the donkey. "I'm warning everyone of the fine weather," said the rooster. "But my mistress and the cook don't appreciate it. No, they're planning to make broth out of me tomorrow." "Oh, that won't do at all," said the donkey. "Come with us. We're heading to the city to become musicians. If we work together, maybe we'll even become famous." "Sounds better than a broth," the rooster declared, and off they went, 4 animals full of hope, striding down the road. They couldn't reach the city that day, so when night fell, they stopped in a forest to rest. The donkey and dog settled under a tree. The cat curled up in a branch, and the rooster flew to the very top, where he could keep a lookout. Before sleeping, the rooster scanned the horizon and spotted a faint light. "There's a house not far from here," called down. "Perhaps we should go there." "A good idea," said the donkey. "The forest isn't exactly cozy." "And I could use a bite to eat," added the dog. So they made their way toward the light, which grew brighter until they saw a cottage. And inside, a group of robbers sat around a table, eating and laughing. "A fine feast," whispered the donkey. "If only we could get inside." They huddled and came up with a plan together. The donkey stood on his hind legs and leaned against the window. The dog climbed onto his back. The cat climbed onto the dog, and the rooster perched on top. At a signal, they began their music. The donkey brayed, the dog barked, the cat yowled and yowled, and the rooster crowed. Then they burst through the window all at once in a crash of glass and noise. The robbers leapt from their chairs in fright, convinced a terrible spirit had descended upon them. They ran into the night, and neither one of them looked back. The animals, delighted by their success, helped themselves to all the food, and then found sleeping spots for the night. The donkey laid in the straw, the dog near the door, the cat on the warm hearth, and the rooster up in the beams. Later that night, the robbers changed their mind, and they came to see the cottage dark and quiet, and decided to return. They sent one man to scout. He crept quietly into the kitchen and searched for a candle. When he saw the cat's glowing eyes in the dark, he thought they were embers and tried to light his match by them. The cat, not amused, sprang at his face, scratching and hissing. The man stumbled back in terror. At the door, the dog bit his leg. In the yard, the donkey gave him a hefty kick, and the rooster, awakened by all this commotion, shouted from the top rooftop, "Throw the rascal up here!" The man fled in panic, telling the others that the house was haunted by witches and monsters. None of the robbers ever dared to go back, not this time. And the 4 musicians, they liked the cottage so much that they never left. And though they never reached the city, they found a new home together, safe and sound. And who's to say that in the end they didn't play a little music now and then?